Today on Locked On A's, what are the chances that Zack Gelof and or Tyler Soderstrom start the season with the A's on opening day? And then we're going to be talking about the plan for A.J. Puk in 2023. Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Is he the closer? We're going to talk about that. And then, finally, we're going to be talking about the rotation. We're going to be building out the rotation. Who's going to be in the rotation? How should the A's go about constructing a rotation? Should they focus on young guys? Should they focus on a savvy veteran presence that they can sign on the free agent market? Let's get into it. How's it going, A's fans, and welcome to episode 484 of the Locked On A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, noted baseball fan Jason Burke, and on today's show, we're talking about Zack Gelof, we're talking about Tyler Soderstrom, we're going to be talking about A.J. Puk and the starting rotation, not necessarily together. So that is what we have coming up for you guys today, but before we get into anything, thank you so much for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where this is being broadcast currently. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's content now, so do it. Also, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, do all those things on YouTube, and also subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to hear podcasts if you're not a YouTube person. So just do that wherever you like doing that. Spotify, Apple, those are two. And if you're on Twitter still, after Elon Musk's I'm not going to call it a takeover, but takeover, his unruly takeover of Twitter, then you can follow us on there as well at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at ByJasonB on Twitter. And there's also a little site that I'm running now in affiliation with Sports Illustrated. It's called Inside the A's. Make sure to go check out Inside the A's and follow Inside the A's at on Facebook and on Twitter. Just lots of great social media work going on out there nowadays. But let's get into today's episode. And I was asked this question. I was actually asked all these questions, and so I'm answering them. But what are the chances that Tyler Soderstrom and or Zack Gelof can make the opening day roster for the A's in 2023? And honestly, I don't know that either has a great chance, but I think that Tyler Soderstrom has a longer shot to make the opening day roster. He's played 45 games above high A, where he started the season this year in Lansing. And I don't know that that's going to be enough time for him. He's done great after a slow start to the season. He was fantastic towards the end there. He made it all the way up to AAA Las Vegas along with Zack Gelof. But I don't know that he's also 20 currently. He's going to be 21 on November 24th. So I don't know that there's a rush for for Tyler Soderstrom. And the two positions that he does play, catcher and first base, are seemingly manned already. The A's are either going to have Shea Langoliers as their starting catcher and then blank for backup, probably veteran presence that's not going to be getting a lot of reps. And you don't really want to bring up Tyler Soderstrom to be a backup catcher and not get a lot of reps. They could go the DH route like they did with Langoliers and Sean Murphy last year, but that seems like a weird way to bring him up. And then you look over at first base, and you got Dermis Garcia as the likely front runner for some playing time at first base, at least to start spring training, if not as the opening day starter at first base for the Oakland A's. And behind him, or with him, you also have Seth Brown just looming, laying in wait, waiting for some of those first base at-bats. So it feels as though they have a couple of candidates already at both of those positions without Tyler Soderstrom, getting any playing time at either of those at the major league level. So I think that he'll either start maybe in Midland, because he played 39 games there. Is that right? No. 36. He played 36 games there. Math. And then maybe he gets a call up to Vegas, fairly quickly after that, or he could just start in Vegas, because why the heck not, and see what happens from there. He's still he's going to be 21 heading into next year. He's still a very, very young guy. But Zack Gelof, different story. He's had 3 extra games in Las Vegas. He got a call up there in 2021 as well. So there's that. And also he's playing in the Arizona Fall League as we speak. I believe, has played 16, 17 games, something like that over there. And that's good for some extra seasoning against some good competition. So that's something to keep an eye on. And also there is the fact that he's been playing second base in the Arizona Fall League, and that kind of counts for something, I think, because second base is one of those positions that isn't necessarily accounted for just yet. I'm not sure who's going to be playing first or second base. It could be Tony Kemp. It could be Jordan Diaz. It could be Zack Gelof if he has a very nice spring. Granted, he also has not had a lot of AAA experience. He did start the season in Midland as opposed to Lansing and got like 86 games over there. So he has some upper minors experience, just not necessarily AAA experience. He's still working on some stuff at the plate, so I could see him being a guy that if he tears it up in spring training and maybe there's an injury, maybe he could get a shot there. But I'm not necessarily counting on that. I'm just saying, hey, it could be a possibility. So of the two guys, I would say Zack Gelof is probably going to be the guy that gets the opportunity there. That all said, I don't know that either one is necessarily a front runner for making the opening day roster. I think that there's guys ahead of them, and they're both fairly young, and the A's like to make sure that they're guys that they're kind of counting on are fully developed before they bring them on up. So that's my take on that situation. If you're looking for a prospect that could be on his way to the opening day roster, I would say Garrett Acton is somebody to keep an eye on. He struggled a little bit once he got to Las Vegas. He had a little bit higher ERA, and I think that home runs had something to do with that by playing in the Pacific Coast League. But it's nothing that playing, having a very hot spring can't overcome. I think that he had he didn't have a sterling outing in AAA, but I think that he can overcome what he did in Las Vegas by having a very nice spring training, and maybe he's the guy that could be in the bullpen because there's lots of bullpen positions. There's also a lot of bullpen arms going for those positions, and the A's have some decent options already. So I'm not sure where they're going to be landing on that, but Garrett Acton is one guy that I would be keeping an eye on this spring training to maybe crack the opening day roster. There's also some other guys that I'll talk about a little bit later in the episode that are also top prospects that could be in the starting rotation. So we're going to talk about that in the third segment, but coming up is AJ Puk an option for the starting rotation? Let's talk about it. BetOnline is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. There's also hockey, so don't forget about hockey, you guys. BetOnline has you covered for everything, including hockey. Go check out some hockey. They skate around on the ice. The Mighty Ducks, they do great things, and they say quack, quack, quack. That was based on a true story, right? Anyways, find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcast, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. They've even updated their World Series odds, and the Phillies have slightly better odds now with the series going back to Philadelphia. And them being tied 1-1 with the Houston Astros. So if you were hoping that the Phillies would win or betting that the Phillies would win, you got worse odds now. But hopefully that's better for the world, and that the Astros will not win a World Series. So that's good news. Anyways, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, hockey, field hockey, probably, table tennis. Who is Tom Brady gonna date? You can do all of this at BetOnline, and so you can head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline is where the game starts. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @JasonB on Twitter. And if you guys have any questions for us, make sure to join I'm switching out the logo. There we go. Boom. Join our Twitter community over at Locked On A's. Pose a question in there. Have some fun. I don't care if you're verified or not. You don't need to pay the $20 for that. And also make sure to follow Inside the A's on Twitter and on Facebook so you never miss an article from me over there, and also some of the writers that we have. Writer, currently. Some of the writer that we have. And also, thank you so much again for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. I've touted that it is a fantastic show many times, and it is quite the program. Peter Bukowski does a great job. He also hosts Locked On Packers, so you know that he's got he's used to having a big audience, and he does some good stuff there, and it's just a way to keep up with the daily sports goings on, the biggest stories around the game, and I legitimately love listening to that show. So make sure to go listen to Locked On Sports today on wherever you want to. You want to listen to it on YouTube? You can, because it's there, or any other platform that you choose. But let's get into AJ Puk and his role for 2023. I was also asked this question: what is his role for 2023? Is he going to be going back to the rotation? Is he going to be a reliever still? Is he going to be the closer? So let's get into that. If I'm the A's, and I'm not, but if I am, I don't think that I would mess with trying to make him a starter and trying to stretch him out like they had for years in the past, because he was healthy in 2022. You don't want to mess with that. You want him healthy and productive, and he's not going to do that, maybe, if he's a starter. So I think that is something that you gotta look into, is not hurting him physically. So you want to keep him just in not the lineup, but you want to keep him on the 26-man roster. So that's number one. I don't think that he's going to be a starter because of that reason alone. And then, so is he going to be a closer? Is he going to be a late inning reliever? That is a good question. I think that I got my answer to that. I don't know if the A's did, but I got my answer to that at the last month or so of the season, once Danny Jimenez and Zack Jackson were down. He got some late inning work, some ninth inning work, and it did not go well. He threw just over 7 innings at 7 1/3, 7 2/3, somewhere in there, and he had a 7.5 ERA. It wasn't great. Again, small sample size, obviously, but in those 7 1 or 2/3 innings, he also walked 4 guys and hit 3. So his command wasn't great when he was pitching in the 9th inning, and that is not something that I'm necessarily trying to sign up more for. Maybe it was some jitters, and maybe he'll be better in 2023, but I don't know that he would be at the top of my list to be the closer on opening day, given how he performed down the stretch in 2022. So that is my initial take here. But he's still got some stuff, and he's a lefty. He's a former top draftee. Do you want to? I mean, it's all about development. Wins and losses don't necessarily count. Do you thrust him into that situation and say, go figure it out? Or is he just not equipped for it? Some guys, we hear it from, guys like John Smoltz on broadcasts all the time. Some guys, the 9th inning's just different. So, maybe that is seeping into my head through osmosis. I'm not sure. Photosynthesis? No, osmosis. Maybe they give it a shot. But if I'm the A's, I'm looking for wins wherever I can get them, because you still want to be okay, sort of, and you want to find out who you got. And maybe that's part of it, is they want to find out if AJ Puk can be a closer, and if they need to actually develop somebody else to be a closer. Because I have said here before that I think that Danny Jimenez could be a trade candidate this offseason. Because are the A's going to be good by the time he's still pitching well? He's approaching 30, I believe. I think he's 28, and he had a good season with the A's. He got injured a little bit, but relievers are also very up and down. And if you have a good season with one of them and you're a rebuilding team, you trade them immediately so you can get something else for them, because you can find another reliever. The A's find relievers all the time. Their bullpen was actually fairly okay, given everything. Kirby Snead wasn't great, but I think that he's a breakout candidate, and I think that they see something in him, and so they wanted to give him those innings, even though he had a 6.5 ERA. So lots of stuff like that in the works. But Sam Moll, great season. Not Diolis Guerra. Domingo Acevedo, he was fantastic. Diolis Guerra's coming back, which I'm very excited about, which is why he's on the tip of my tongue, because I want to see more Diolis Guerra pitching. But Domingo Acevedo, fantastic this season. They had a lot of guys that had some very solid outings for the A's, and some over the course of the entire season. So you could see if one of those guys is going to be the closer of the future. But I think that AJ Puk, you have a lot invested in him, so maybe he gets another crack. But I don't think that he would get the first crack if it was my team, if I was running the team. So I think that's where I'm standing with AJ Puk in 2023. I think he's a reliever. I think that he's an 8th inning reliever, maybe a 7th inning reliever, depending on matchups and blah, 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 blah. I don't think that I give him the 9th inning because he isn't great. But anyways, coming up on the show, we're going to build out a starting rotation. How would I do it? I got some answers for you guys, and I got a trade coming up for you guys as well. So let's get into that. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. And if you are a new listener, please leave us a 5-star review on your platform of choice, because that's appreciated. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at ByJasonB on Twitter. If you have any questions for us, join our Twitter community, pose a question in there, make some friends with fellow A's fans, and just have a great offseason, just going crazy talking about outlandish things. I know that there are some A's Twitters, Twitter accounts, A's Twitters, that I don't believe that they are in the chat, but they are just making the case for Aaron Judge to sign with the A's for some amount of money. So yeah, have some fun with it. Why not? It's the offseason. The A's did not have a good season. Go crazy, you guys. Go crazy. But let's talk about the A starting rotation come 2023. Somebody was like, hey, would you add some veteran guys, or would you give some more time to the young guys that we saw, like Zack and Adam Oller and Adrian Martinez? Would you start working those guys in and giving them some more run in the big leagues? And first off, the A's have a full rotation unless they trade somebody, and I'm going to here in a second, but they have Cole Irvin as probably the top dog. He's the leader of the staff by my estimation. And then you got James Kaprielian, solid number 2 for a rebuilding team like the Oakland A's. And he showed some stuff down the stretch. I liked what I saw from James Kaprielian once they said that they were going to move him to the rotation, and then there was an injury to Adam Oller, and so then they put James Kaprielian back in the rotation before he could pitch out of the bullpen, and he was much better. So if he can pitch like that, yeah, he's going to be great. And then you have that guy, the all-star, Paul Blackburn, Paulie Brentwood over here. That's 3 veteran guys right there that they already have. And I think one of those guys is going to get traded. I'll talk about it here in just one sec. And then I think that JP Sears and Ken Waldichuk, the guys that they got from the Yankees in the Frankie Montas trade, I think, well, 2 of them. I think that those guys showed enough that they should be near the top of the list for the A's starting rotation as we enter spring training. So that's my rotation. As of right now, that is my rotation, is those 5 guys. Granted, I'm going to be trading Paul Blackburn. I think I've said it before. I'm not sure. But I'm trading Paul Blackburn because he's going to be 28 right now. I think 28, 29. He's approaching 30. He's got years of control. So that's something working in his favor for the A's. He's not expensive yet, but we've seen so much of Paul Blackburn, and we finally saw some good come from his pitching and whatnot. And he earned an all-star appearance. I think that his value is probably the highest it's going to be, and I don't know that he's going to be pitching at that level when the A's are next competitive. So I think that you trade him right now for whatever you can get for him, and you open up that spot for another guy that you can either trade, another veteran presence, or one of those guys like Adam Oller or Adrian Martinez. Zack was plagued by home runs both at the Major League level and at the AAA level, and maybe if that was a real big fluke of a thing, then maybe he can rejoin that group. But I think that it's Oller and Martinez currently for me, along with some other guys like Jared Koenig. I think that he might be a relief option, but Jared Koenig, maybe. We got some other guys in there as well. Mason Miller's coming. Is he going to be a reliever? Is he going to be a starter? We don't know. But I think that you got to keep those. You got to keep it a little bit more fluid. So I think that you got to trade one of the 3 veteran guys, and I think that Paul Blackburn might be the guy because there's a little bit of risk involved for the A's. I think that, James Kaprielian's, you kind of know what you're getting with him. You're getting somewhere roughly a league average pitcher, maybe a little bit closer to like a 4.5 ERA potentially. He could also have like a 3.5 ERA. Cole Irvin had it like a 3 ERA for a lot of the season, and then he got roughed up a little bit towards the end and then pitched better as that closing day approached, and he got that ERA just under 4. So it was a decent season for Cole Irvin, I would say. There was a few starts in there that made everything look bad, but overall, very solid season for Cole Irvin. So I think that if you're looking for a trade partner to acquire Paul Blackburn, the Cardinals are the only team that really make a lot of sense to me, because they go after guys like that, and then they're just dogs. And I mean that in the best way. They're like bulldogs. They just go out there and they do the thing, and they are annoying. And I'm not saying that Paul Blackburn's annoying, but I think that Cardinals pitchers are annoying, and Paul Blackburn seems like he would be a good fit in a rotation with the St. Louis Cardinals, who are a team that are looking for guys like Paul Blackburn on a fairly regular basis. Guys that can just eat some innings. Not a ton, but some. And Paul Blackburn can do some innings sometimes. So I think that could be, maybe they package him with Sean Murphy, and that's a trade package that maybe we'll explore a little bit later in the offseason, maybe next week. Got to talk to the Cardinals, so see if we can do a crossover. But yeah, so with that, we have four pitchers in the starting rotation, and that leaves one spot open. That could be either a veteran guy, and one guy that I've floated a couple of times now is James Paxton. I think that he has that upside that teams would want at the trade deadline. So if he can stay healthy, he could be a very valuable trade asset for the A's. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy, because he hasn't really pitched over many innings at all. In 2020, he had like 20 innings, and I think in 2021 he pitched like 1 2/3, and then he missed all of 2022. So I don't know that teams are going to be clamoring for him, like competitive teams are not going to be clamoring for him. Other teams, like the A's, who would like a nice trade piece at the trade deadline, might be. And the A's have had lots of success with guys like this in the past, so that could make the A's a desirable destination even. We'll see. But he's already pitched with the Yankees. He was signed with Boston in 2022, did not pitch with them. Those are some of the big market teams. Right? The Dodgers could swoop in and be like, yeah, let's give him a few $1 million and see what happens here, because that'd be nice. Maybe that's something that happens. But I think that the A's could be a nice fit if he is only taking a few $1 million. Not multiple, not like 7 or 8, but like 3 or 4. I think James Paxton could be a nice addition to the Oakland A's rotation. If that's not the case, there's other guys out there. There's a Chris Archer. He's out there, but I don't know that he has the same upside on the trade market. But if they don't go the veteran route, I think that I'd start with Adam Oller personally. I really liked what I saw in those 2 starts towards the end of his season, mostly the end of his season. He pitched 6. He gutted through 6 innings against the Miami Marlins. Again, not like a great offense, but he gutted through 6 innings without any control on his fastball. He gave up 3 runs, and he needed to give the A's 6 innings on that day because the bullpen was taxed, and he did it. He got through it, and he kept the A's in the game somehow. So that was a big start for him. And then in his next start, just a few days later, he held the New York Yankees, to 2 hits of scoreless baseball over 8 innings. So that really solidified him as he might have something here. That's the Chris Bassett that I saw in him when he was acquired in the Chris Bassett trade. And so I think that could lend some sway if for my A's, he would lend some sway. He also didn't do as well in Baltimore in his next start, but he also landed on the IL right after that. So I don't know if he was dealing with an injury for that one. It was a rib injury, I believe. And then he came back and made a quick start. It was like 1 inning, 3 runs, something like that against the Mariners, I believe. And it wasn't great, but he was also coming off of injury, and it was the last start that he was going to make this season. So he was like, whatever. So I discount those last 2 just because injury. I don't know how healthy he was, so whatever. So the last 2 starts that I do count were fantastic, and so I think Adam Oller could be really, really good right there. And as I wrote about on Inside the A's, I think that Adrian Martinez could use one more pitch. You got to go collect the article to find out which pitch it is. But I think that Adrian Martinez still has the chance to be a very, very solid starting pitcher for the Oakland A's. He has just ridiculous movement on some of his pitches, especially his changeup. And I think that he has the tools to be effective, and I'd like to see more. So I think that I'd go with that. That is how I would do it. if you can get somebody like a James Paxton or a nice tradable candidate at the trade deadline, that's my number one, because then you're still filling out the farm system a little bit more in just a couple of months. And then you free up a spot for a guy like Adam Aller or Adrian Martinez or potentially Zach Logue or Mason Miller. And you get more assets that, or more players for later on that way. And if they don't go that route, and they want to go, paying guys the minor league minimum or the major league minimum, I go Adam Aller first. And according to right now, we'll see how spring training goes. But that is all that I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And thank you so much for making the Locked On A's your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today is available on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So check it out. It's a great show. I thoroughly enjoy it. But that's all that I got for you guys today. Make sure to follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @JasonB on Twitter. Make sure to follow Inside the A's on Twitter and on Facebook. Doing great work over there as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. That's all very helpful to the old algorithm. He's the guy that promotes my stuff. Anyways, that's all that I got for you guys today. So until next time, go out and celebrate good times, A's fans, and I'll talk at you tomorrow.